Well, we left off in the last video with finishing up the chopper, and the boys were working on changing out a water pump on this service truck. We call it an Army truck because it's actually an Army, I don't know if you'd call it a surplus truck or not, but it's actually got a VIN tag right on here. Built for the U.S. military by General Motors Corporation. I'll have a screenshot of that and make a larger view of it. But at any rate, they did the front wheel bearings on this, replaced tie rod ends and everything else, and we had noticed that down on this left-hand side of the motor, it was leaking a little bit of coolant. This bottom bolt here was loose. I tightened that up, but that didn't. It kept leaking, so I figured that the best thing to do would be to change this water pump out now. So they've got the water pump over on the bench. We've got the mixer wagon in here. I've got to change the kicker plates out on that. And we're gonna go ahead and put a new set of knives on the mixing screws. So this is the little guy here, the water pump. That's what it looks like. And the bottom bolt right here was loose, and all there is just an O-ring style gasket in there. And whatever, it was not from a failed water pump. It was just leaking because that one bolt loosened up. So he's just gonna clean up the housing. All that comes is this part, right? Yeah. So when you get a new water pump or a reman, that's all you get is this part of it here, and then he's just cleaning up the housing. And we'll kind of show you what the mixer wagon looks like on the inside here. This mixer wagon I rebuilt 3 years ago. 3 years ago now. We put new wall liners in here and new mixing screws. And we're getting close now to needing a liner in it again. Ended up welding the date in here back when I put the liners in it. So 2019, and then that's how much material is worn off here. I mean, that weld is just about gone here. So we've got to replace these knives. They're just about shot. They're still sharp and they're effective, but the bolts are wearing off, and it's just going to start spitting these off here in a while anyways. And then the other thing that we need to do is replace the actual kicker plate. These here are called the kicker plate, and what they do is they just kick the heavier material like grain and corn and whatever like that. It kicks that up to put it into the mix, or else you'll have pockets of grain being kicked out on or not mixed up. And what I did when we put these new screws in here, this is the actual kicker plate here, and I've got that on a little bit of a steeper angle, and then I put this 1/4-inch material over the top to kind of give it more of a ramping function so that the mixer would start easier under load and still have an effective kicker, if you will. But this material, what it is the actual wall liner material. It's only 1/4 of an inch thick, and it doesn't last that long. This one's down paper thin, and it's peeled back. What we have that we're going to put on here now is 1/2-inch material, AR 400, and that will outlast the screws here. The screws, or the augers, are, well, they're maybe half wore out now, and I see that our dish that goes on top here is wore out as well, so I'm going to have to get a new one of them on there. And all that is just a regular disc We use like a 20-inch blade or a 21-inch blade to put on there, and that is wore out and gone too. So we'll have to get 2 new disc blades to put on here. This is, look at how thin that is. I mean, that is paper thin. I don't know if you could see that moving there or not, but we'll have to get these off, dig all the feed out of there. What this has is planetaries that drive these augers. The planetary comes up to about here, and then there's 10 or 12 bolts that hold the auger down onto that planetary. So we're going to do some cutting here, do some grinding, get our pieces in, and then we'll change out these knives. Well, we have some pieces on the bench here. These are our old knives here. And what they have is they still have the backing plate mounted to them. There is a little countersunk screw here that we need to dig out. And then we'll go ahead and bolt the brand new knives to the backing plate. Now, these knives are wore and they have some life left in them. There is some of the carbide material that is missing, but they're still functional. However, once they get down to the point where they're wore into and past this backing plate, they start wearing very quickly. So we have caught this at about the right time here. And we put these in back just before we started chopping corn. So let's say September 1, we put this in there. So we've been September, October, November, December. We've been 4 months. With those knives in there, they'd probably go another month or so. Now, the other pieces that we have on the bench here are the old kicker plates. This is the one off of the front screw that we cut out, and this is the one off of the rear screw that we cut out. Now this is something that I kind of cobbled together after we put the new screws in this white mixer wagon. And this is the actual kicker plate here that gets welded to the bottom of the screw. We got the outside of the mixer here, and you're supposed to put this on at a specific angle, something like that angle right there or something. But it requires, if you put that on at that angle, it's not quite as effective as it would be if it was up at that angle. However, you get this mounted at this higher angle here, it takes more horsepower to start the loaded mixer wagon. So we were having some trouble because I mounted these in a little too high. So what I did was I took a piece of material. This material here is what we had left over from the liner material where the door would actually, the cutout for the front door. So this is just 1/4 inch material, and I just basically sketched it out quick and set this piece on top of the actual kicker plate in the mixer wagon. So that what it did is it gave an easier start angle, or it gave it more of a ramp, if you will, and it allowed the mixer wagon to start easier under load. So we got this piece in there like that. We could show you once we go over to the mixer wagon. This piece is in there like that, and then this is giving it a little bit of a ramp function to it. Now this, I've put 3 of these in, maybe it's been 4. 3 or 4 of these in the mixer wagon since I rebuilt this one in 3 years ago, and the other one was rebuilt 2 years ago. So I had Steel Sales cut me some material here. This is 1/2 inch thick. It's twice as thick as this material. And this is an abrasive resistant Brunel, I think you would pronounce it that way, number 400. And this is only 200, so it's twice the thickness, twice the hardness. So we'll show you what that looks like in the mixer wagon. We should not have to do or put a set of kicker plates on this mixer wagon again. They should last. The kicker plates should outlast the actual mixing screw. So Garrett's inside here. He has cleaned out the inside of the augers. That's the top of the planetary is down in there, and you can kind of see the bolt heads here are right there. And that would be, you take them bolts out, and that's how you get these screws out of the mixer wagon. So we have these kicker plates mounted, they're just tack welded into place. Move this back, will you? Turn this back. And we basically just kind of cobbled these together. That's pretty good right there. We just kind of cobbled these together. They're of no fancy shape or anything. We just kind of hand cut it with the plasma cutter, and then I just took a piece of cardboard and traced the piece that I have on the bench, and I threw it to Steel Sales, and I said, cut me 6 of these plates out so that I have them. And that's what you see there. So it's got a little bit of a ramping function here to kick the grain up into the rest of the mix. And then what it needs to do is it needs to have a tight edge against the wall, or you'll drop grain against the outside of the mixer, and you'll have grain that's not mixed into the rest of the TMR. So I have talked to the boys at Supreme about doing something different with their kicker plate, and I don't know if they have anything in the design stages here now or not, but I'm going to go ahead and patent that, and I'm just waiting for my royalties is all, on that, because that is an awesome design, ain't it? Yeah. But I have put like 3 or 4 of these in this mixer wagon, and so far here now. The first couple that I put in there, I really had to do a lot of screwing around with getting the proper angle on it and the proper cut on the end so that it would clear the wall. So this time around, we were able to tack weld that in there without any problems. The first time we tacked it, we were able to leave it. We rolled it around. It didn't hit the wall. And now I'm going to go ahead and weld it down completely. And then we'll get the knives on here. We've got to find a couple of discs to put on here for cap/covers. If I was paying attention to this a little more, this wouldn't have wore out, and you wouldn't have had to dig all that material out of there. You're not seeing your girlfriend tonight, are you? No. Did you wear gloves while you did this? Oh, yeah. All right, because your hands will stink for like 4 days. Yeah, it's going to stink for 4 days, so you won't be able to go near your girlfriend. If you do, wear gloves. That's all. That's all you got to do. Wear gloves. So we're going to go ahead and do some welding here. Garrett's got a good pile of material on the floor here from the rear screw. And there's a pile of material on the conveyor here from the front screw. Jason's got the water pump in, and he's got a lot of this put back together here. He's just got a little bit more left to do here, and then this will be done. And Sarge is working on the 7930 next door here. He had a fuel line that he had to replace. Alex was spreading manure with us the other day and seen that it was leaking fuel. And we discovered that this fuel line that hooks into the filter housing here, wraps around the other side of the engine and hooks up to the injection pump. And it was leaking, I don't know if it was leaking right at this tube here or if it was leaking where this bracket here is. My guess is that it was leaking back by this bracket because there's a bolt missing there. I don't know if Sarge has removed that bolt or not, but it was leaking somewhere in here, just kind of spraying. She noticed it and quit hauling manure. But we'll show you where it hooks to here. It comes right around this left-hand side of the engine here, and it hooks right into the injection pump. So we're gonna do some welding, and we're gonna get this mixer wagon buttoned up. I need to do the same thing to the red mixer wagon as what we did to this mixer wagon here, but that one is not as bad off, I don't think, as this mixer wagon, because this one we actually mix maybe 2 more loads a day with than we do the other one. So we'll get some welding done here. All right, we've got the kicker plates on here along with all new knives on both screws, mixing augers. And we went ahead and put new covers on the top of the mixing screw. This is a John Deere disc blade, a brand new one. We had this kicking around back when we had a 637 John Deere disc. And then this blade here is an old blade off of our Amco offset disc. This one was quite a bit bigger, and being that it was dished a lot taller, it didn't quite fit on here, so I cut it quick with a plasma cutter, and it's got a little bit of a jagged edge, but that is fine. That's like 1/4 of an inch thick, and this one is, I don't know how thick these are, but these disc blades are like $60 some. You can buy the cover that Supreme sells, but it's basically the same thing. I don't think it's as thick, and the original ones were on there for a few years, and we ought to be able to get several years out of these. So we're gonna go ahead and pull the other mixer down here. We've got basically the same thing going on with that one. So rather than bore everybody, we're going to sign off of this video here. So that is going to do it for this video. I thank you for watching, and we will catch you at the next one.